Applying for a study permit from inside Canada is a hot topic of discussion these days. A lot of folks whose work permits are expiring soon are thinking of going back to school, getting some more education, increase their points, and they want to apply for a study permit from inside Canada. Now, the caveat is not everyone is eligible to apply for a study permit from inside Canada. You cannot just apply for a study permit and expect it will get approved. There are very specific conditions that you need to meet, and in this video we're going to go over all those requirements in detail and discuss in detail if you can apply for a study permit from inside Canada or not. So stay tuned until the end. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Dhruv. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. At our firm Effizient, we assist all prospective immigrants with their immigration to Canada. So if you are an aspirant, you need assistance, here is our contact information. Feel free to contact us and we'll be happy to assist you. If you would like to talk to any RCIC in our firm, you can book an appointment. The link to book an appointment is in the description of this video. Now, talking about when you can apply for study permit from inside Canada and what requirements you need to meet. Before we go into the details of that, let's quickly answer the comment of the week. This comment comes on our express entry without employment letter video, and the question is, if after the application is refused for a person who was on maintained status, they had to stay in Canada for 2 weeks before they voluntarily left the country, will this period of stay in Canada, overstay, out of status stay in Canada, impact their future PR application under CEC? Excellent question, and here's the answer. When IRCC refuses your application, they say that you need to leave the country immediately or apply for restoration. Now, immediately here means that you need to leave the country as soon as possible. However, being in Canada for 3-4 years, you have a lot of things to pack, you have a lot of affairs to conclude. So if you end up taking 1, 2, 3 weeks to arrange all your affairs and leave, it's okay. We've never seen IRCC raising any alarms about this in subsequent application. Also, if you continue to stay in Canada, then you have 90 days to apply for restoration, and that's the grace period IRCC gives anyone who loses their status, so that they can kind of bring their affairs in order and have the chance to apply for restoration. Now, as long as you leave in a reasonable amount of time, if you plan to leave, there shouldn't be an issue with IRCC in the future. However, if you keep continuing to stay beyond the 90-day period after you were refused, you cannot apply for restoration, you are overstaying, then you will have a problem in the future. I hope this helps. Now, a lot of folks who are coming in Canada as a visitor, or who are now applying for a visitor record in Canada, work permits are expiring, they have applied for visitor record, often want to later get a study, go for a study permit and study in Canada. Now, in this case, it's important to note, guys, that you can't just go from a visitor record to study permit. These are certain things that are not possible right away, and there are very specific requirements for inside Canada study permit application. Now, here on the screen, you can see the page for study permit, how to apply for uh, Canada's official IRCC website. And here, if we go down, it talks about where are you applying for outside Canada, within Canada, and at port of entry. And guys, if we select within Canada, you'd see that there are certain conditions you need to meet. So here it says only some people can apply for study permit from within Canada, and then they talk about any of the situations that may apply to you. Now, what are the situations or conditions under which you may be eligible to apply for study permit from inside Canada? Well, first is you either have a valid study or work permit. If you have a valid work permit or a valid study permit, then you will be able to apply for study permit from inside Canada. Now, guys, emphasis is on the word valid. Please don't think that the maintained status or implied status does not mean a valid study or work permit. That means that you applied for extension, so that being on maintained status may not cut it for applying for study permit from inside Canada. Second is your spouse or common law partner has a valid study or work permit. So if you have a spouse or a common law partner who has a valid study or work permit, or you have a parent who has a valid study or work permit, this would work. If you are a minor child studying in primary or secondary school, then also you can apply for a study permit from inside Canada. If you're an exchange student, that works too. This one is very common and a very common way where people are able to go from visitor to being on a study permit inside Canada. And this is you completed a short-term course or study program required to be accepted at a designated learning institution. Now, guys, this is very important, very important. If you have completed a short course in Canada, that is a prereq for you to get admission in a DLI. You were on a visitor visa, you studied a course less than 6 months, and this course was necessary for you to get admitted to a DLI. So you completed that course as a visitor. Now you want a study permit based on that course that got you the admission. Then you can apply for study permit from inside Canada. In this case, the DLI that gave you the admission has to identify that you needed that particular prereq course which you completed while you were a visitor in order to get admitted to the DLI, and hence you are applying for this study permit based on that acceptance. You or your spouse or dependent child has a temporary resident permit. Now this goes into folks who are inadmissible, who hold a temporary resident permit. They can apply for study permit from inside Canada. You are being sponsored to immigrate and you're already applied for permanent residence. Now guys, this is if you are going through spousal sponsorship or parent guardian sponsorship and you have already applied for PR, you can apply for a study permit as well at the time inside Canada. You or your spouse or common law partner are subject to unenforceable removal order. This comes into the removal proceedings, which would not apply to a lot of you guys, so don't worry about it too much. You are the spouse or common law partner. You are the spouse or common law partner or your dependent child of an athlete, a member of media, a member of clergy, a military personnel, accredited foreign representative. So these apply to folks who are athletes in Canada, who are media members, who are foreign representatives. Um, their kids can apply for study permit from inside Canada, or you are a refugee claimant. Now, guys, these are all the conditions that you must meet if you have to apply for study permit from inside Canada. So guys, if you do not meet the requirements to apply for study permit from inside Canada, then you have to leave the country, apply as if you're applying from outside Canada. So you have to fill the outside Canada application and you need to then wait for that approval before you can get your study permit to study in Canada. Now, it's very common these days to see folks who have applied for visitor record or who are on visitor record and they want to study, they want to start studying, they want to go back to school. However, it's important to see or to understand that you cannot just apply for a study permit from inside Canada. Either you have to leave the country or you have to stay inside the country and meet one of these conditions we've talked about in order to apply for study permit. That's it for this video, guys. In short, we've talked about the conditions, the scenarios in which you can apply for study permit from inside Canada. In general, you cannot just apply. Either you need to have a valid study permit or a work permit to apply for a study permit from inside Canada, or your spouse needs to have a valid study permit or work permit, or you need to complete one of the prereq courses based on which you are getting admitted to a DLI. That's it for this video, guys. I hope this video gave you some information about what is necessary for you to apply for study permit from inside Canada. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you are notified about any new video that we upload. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.